too. We got to give it a couple seconds.
We're going all right. 3, 2, 1. Nate Reno, ladies and gentlemen.
Hello. Thanks for having me, Damien.
Thank you for being here, man. I'm fucking excited, man.
Me too. I'm pumped.
The reason I'm excited because there's so many topics I obviously want to touch on today, and I hate to be so fucking cliche when I'm about to say this, but I have to start just at the beginning so we're not jumping everywhere.
Okay.
I had Taylor on a couple weeks ago, and she said you guys kind of actually came into the music scene around the same time with like Ryan Boyko there. So let's just start at the beginning there.
Well, I want to start at the beginning of something real quick.
Okay.
Sorry, I know this is your podcast.
No,
I'm not trying to take over.
That's all right.
But I wanted to talk quickly about the first time we met.
Okay.
The first time we met, I believe, was Loud as Hell 2017.
Okay.
And I went crazy that year. Long story short, it was like the only festival where I wasn't working. And I was hanging out with Planet Eater too much. We started a bad joke at our campground that ended up coming via me up the hill. And I was watching your interview with Travnik, and you were talking about how he plays all the music after.
Oh, yeah.
So 90s. And then after that, we were kind of sitting down after partying. And I was a real dick to you, man.
Oh, no.
And I want to apologize for that. I want everybody to know that I was a dick to you when I first met you. I was really drunk. And that's not an excuse for being a dick. But I don't know why my brain... I think it was like the first kind of weird old guy jealousy where I'm like, oh, who's this kid? You know? And it was that kind of like stupid, you know, and then drunk, let it go on, maybe. But I still, that's not an excuse. I wanted to start by apologizing for that because that's how we met, and it was weird. And I think you've found that I'm not like that all the time, but I just wanted to apologize for that, man.
So, apology accepted. We are still going to meet in an octagon and fight to the death.
Oh, really? I forgot about that part. I'm okay.
We're meeting the octagon. We're fighting to the death.
Well, we put this together.
Exactly. So it's still going to happen. Apology accepted, but that's still happening.
Okay. I'm down.
But no, I didn't think twice of that or anything. So, but I appreciate
I know.
that.
It can be easily written off as like, he was just drunk. But, I've been literally apologizing to people ever since that year happened. I was just I don't know what the fuck got into me that year. Like,
yeah.
It's never happened really like before or since. So it was like a weird anomaly.
I'm pretty sure that was me like 2 years ago. So I'm going to be doing the same thing for like 5 more guests in the future.
Cool. So the beginning. Well, actually, I met Taylor a long time before I truly met. Well, I might have known a Boyko, but Taylor and I met at like a house party in 2002, 3, 4, 5,
Holy
6 maybe. I remember because Wes of Exit Strategy fame, the singer, we used to play in bands together. I moved to Alberta in 01. April of 01 I moved here from Portland, Oregon. That's where my mom's side of the family's from. So I was 19 in 2001, and we came up here to visit and just saw all the work that was like, there was signs. It was a huge boom. So there was just tons of work, and we decided to move up here. And then, yeah, I met Wes, like, I don't know, shit. Like I met him in like summer of 01.
Oh, yeah.
And then we kind of had a band going by the next year.
What'd you play? Sorry to cut you off there.
Where?
What'd you play?
I'm a bass player.
Okay.
Yeah, I play bass in Kayaktis.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. I know it doesn't seem like it. we were supposed to play a show on March 14th. We were supposed to play my buddy's memorial show, Mike Hogarth from Stab Twist Pull. But the pandemic shut that down. But yeah, so back in 01, I met Wes. And then, so we had a band back then called Lynchpin. And we just played around, didn't do much. And then he formed another band with another Nathan after that. I've been trying all day to remember the name of the band. I should have texted Wes, but and that's where I met Taylor, was at one of their kind of parties. So that had to be past 02, 01, 02, 03. And then I went through a bunch of band stuff. I started working at Slaughterhouse Studios in 2004. I had gone down there volunteering and jamming with my band there and stuff, but then and finally got on at being paid actual money in January 1st, 2004. So I helped build a bunch of rooms and studio there, and started my engineering career. Engineering, I mean, recording bands and all that stuff back then. And I was so spoiled in those big old rooms down there. And it was kind of cool. Bob was just like, we have his stuff. We don't know how it works. You want to do it? And I'm like, yeah. And then, just struggle to figure everything out. And then worked at Slaughterhouse till about 2011, 11, which is when I started working at Dickens as a sound guy. But as far as Boyko goes, I kind of really met him in 2006, that's when we started playing together. I was trying to put a band together with Wes again, and Wes had found some sick guitar players, and just via working at Slaughterhouse, I met Ryan with one of his bands jamming down there, and heard him kicking ass, and brought him out to the car and asked him if he'd like to, he'd be interested in starting this thing we were talking about, and he was pumped. And then, so we did Kill Ya Kai. Well, actually, I must have met him in 06, but
that's Kill Ya Kai.
That had to happen in 08, because our first drummer, I'm pretty sure Kill Ya Kai started in 06. Mm-hmm. And then he was only in the band for a couple of years, and then we had Boyko in. But and then Kayakta started after that, which was like, again, 2010, 2011, somewhere around there. And then been in that band and just doing the engineering thing, studio, live. Go to bignateproductions.com. I'll record your damn band. Do whatever you want. Lyric video, I don't care. Do it.
What made you want to go into more the engineering side of recording, like for the music?
Well, that's a good question. When we moved up here, like, I graduated in the year 2000, and my mom, she really wanted me to, like, go to university right away. Like, that was a big thing. I mean, it's probably still is. And I was really adamant about taking a year off, and they thought it was a terrible idea, which it was. It's terrible. But when we moved up here when I was 19, after I'd taken that year off, I went to the Banff Center for the Arts, and they gave me a tour of that place. I kind of made my mind up that year I took off that I wanted to do this, is the short answer to your question. Mm-hmm. But when we moved here and I got to see the beautiful facilities up there in Banff, I wanted to do it even more. So when I first got here, I was working, my first job was like night stalker at Superstore. Mm-hmm. And with the guy that's like high on E, just blasting EDM all night. And then I was like a painter, during the day for a few years. But 2004 is when I really like started paying my rent off of music.
That's crazy.
Related things, never the band, but music stuff full time. Which I think I'm very lucky for.
Oh yeah.
Thanks to everybody that's ever hired me. It's huge.
What were the like, just to give like context, what was like the main programs for 2004 and everything there?
Well, I've always been poor, so we're always like 3 behind. Yeah. But when I first started working at Slaughterhouse, let's see, they were running a ADAT digital tape machine. It went via light pipe to this ADAT digital tape. Like, there wasn't even a computer involved yet. This thing was just acting like a big reel-to-reel, but in this new digital tape format, which is basically just hard drives. I mean, now you look at it and go, what? That's not a tape. That's a hard drive. But when we did get a computer, I remember there was the Night Deposit was a rad old studio here, and we bought their old Pro Tools rig in, say, I don't know, 05 or 06, and it was Pro Tools 5.1. Mm-hmm. I think they're up to, what, is it 12 or
Yeah.
13 now? I'm not sure. I don't pay attention. Excuse me.
So then to even, just because it's so interesting going into that recording aspect, I don't know, I'm assuming actually a lot of people know, but for people who don't know, Nate was actually one of the main guys behind Calgary Metal Fest there. So how did that come about? Just, was there like a couple shows and you wanted to do the festival, or?
It actually came about as kind of like a dare.
Really?
Yeah. Again, at a house party somewhere, and I'm like pontificating and bitching, and it's like, well, why don't you do your own? Oh, fuck, I will. Like, it wasn't exactly like that, but it was kind of like, Nate, you'd be perfect. Like, I bet you. And so I started Calgary Metal Fest 1 was a ploy for a huge birthday party for myself to get all my buddies who I'd met, because especially in like 06, there was a lot of bands coming back and forth, and we befriended a lot of them. So it was a big excuse to get them. It's like, I can pay you like $100, but it's going to be this rad bro down. Mm-hmm. And that's what it got a little more serious. Like, it got more serious, but it started out like that. And then all of a sudden I was like, holy fuck, go buy a keg, like on the first one, I didn't. And that was interesting because back then, Facebook, we're talking 2012 now, Facebook worked like the utility Facebook has been sold to work, like without any gas pedals or governors. Like, I would post stuff and all of my friends would see it. So, and there would be reaction. Yeah, this is awesome. But it doesn't roll like that anymore. No. It does not roll like that anymore. You do not, like, unless you're paying them. Like, I've been sitting next to my wife and I'm like, haven't you fucking seen this? Like, I posted, no, like, what? Like, are you trying to break up my family, Zuckerberg?
Yeah. What was who'd you have as the headliner the first year?
Oh my gosh. I'd have to go back. I don't know. I remember Royal Blood was the headliner for the all ages show at the New Black. And oh man, it seems like two lifetimes ago that happened. Why can't I remember? I know we were. Yeah, I put my band higher up on the bill. It wasn't anybody like even medium signed or anything. It was just, it was kind of like I remember Annex Theory being on the show pretty high up, and they were like just about to get signed, and they were like busting ass touring all the time. So I kind of did it like that with the first one, where it was like, who is working the hardest and who would benefit the most from a show, like, and trying to get the hardest working bros in front of the most people. But Grime Exemius, I remember they were on it. Fuck, I can see the shirt in my head, but can't see who's at the top of it. I'm sure Nancy's yelling at this right now.
Did you always have the same locations for when you did it? I know the very last year you did the Palace for the headliner show. Did you always have the same venues though for the previous years?
No. The first year was at the New Black, Dickens, and I think the D, like D2, I think, and maybe a Verns, like opener thing. And then year 2, we had 82 bands. I tried to really, and I got all these weird offers for touring packages. Like, they had heard that the first year went well, and I got all these. And that was actually the same year that your dad Jeff started. It was 2012 that he started Loud as Hell, right?
Yeah.
Because I remember that was because of Kill Devil Hill.
Yes. Yep.
And I remember being at that show, and they got that. Anyways, the second was at The second year was at Dickens. I had upstairs and downstairs at Broken City. And then I think I still did the New Black. And there was a Vern stage too. And I think, I can't remember, because I worked at Noctis too, and we did as like the production manager and stuff, and we did stuff at all these places too. So that's why my brain is so scrambled, is because it's like so many shows, like, and being a sound guy live and, excuse me, and just all those shows, it just turns into a big wad of chewed up gum in my frontal cortex. It's weird, but yeah, no, I remember we had 82 bands the second year. So that, and it was all, we had a shuttle going like between Broken City and Dickens. And yeah, that was by far the most successful one. Like
year 2?
Yeah, because I got like Scale the Summit and Skeleton Witch headlined. Like they just had, and that's what I was going for. I was like, I'm hoping that I can just establish this, that it happens every time this time of year, and the bookers will oblige me and kind of try to work it into their tour schedule, which, you know, is a great idea, but sometimes there are no bad ideas, of course, on YouTube. But yeah, sometimes you think certain things will happen, but they don't turn out that way.
What year did you like maybe just take a different, maybe not different approach? Because the one year, I want to say, how many years did that go on for? You had 7 of them?
5.
5. So it was what, year 4 you had Cobra and the Lotus?
Yeah,
headline?
they headlined that year. Yeah.
So like obviously, you're just dealing with the different, you know, like a pedigrees of bands at that point, right? You know, at what time, you know, after like year 3, you said, you know, I want to, you know, go for someone like that. Oh no, also real quick to add to that, I heard a rumor that Cobra and the Lotus was managed by Gene Simmons there.
They were, from what I understand, they were signed to his label.
Oh, okay.
They've always been managed by Susan Bullen.
Oh, okay.
Who's Cobra's mom. But yeah, Gene had a label and he was out looking for bands. I'm going to sign a bunch of young bands on my label. And it can't drink, can't smoke, blah, blah, blah. And, which is, you know, hey, man, you got the money and that's fair enough. You want Christian rock? I don't give a fuck. But Cobra, to their credit, I mean, got signed because of that and got to open up for fucking Kiss all across the U.S.
Yeah.
You know, good for them. People hate them. It's hilarious.
Who, Cobra?
They're very polarizing.
Oh, okay.
You know, people love them or people hate them. And it's funny. Like, I've always heard a lot of the hate. You know, that's why I had no problem being like, hey, fuck, you want to headline my festival? Would you do that for me? You know, and they're like, hell yeah. So, I mean, fuck the haters, right? Lots of the haters sit around and do nothing. So you got to give it to them for going hard and putting it out. And, you know, the music business, there's lots of, you got to be lucky. The fucking, you know, the lightning has to hit over there at the right time, and then it needs to rain over here at the right time. And it's just, some people get it. Some people that happens to, and some people it doesn't. I've seen it over and over.
What was the difference between maybe working at like so where did Cobra and the Lotus play when you had them headline?
They headlined Dickens, which would have been the main stage.
Yeah. So like when you did your last year and you had the Palace there, was there a big difference between like, have you worked booking bands with the Palace before? Like, I feel like that might just be.
No, I haven't worked with them booking since the festival. Actually, I've worked there teching a few times, which has been awesome. I mean,
I love the sound.
That's
there.
a fucking intimidating room to walk into. And have you seen where the board is? It looks like the fucking Starship Enterprise. Like that fucking board is the size of this table. No shit.
Yeah.
And you know, intimidating as fuck and all this.
I guess
but still just a board. Not that big of a deal. Sorry, what was the Palace?
Yeah. The biggest difference between like Dickens and there for working for your festival.
Oh yeah, that's a whole nother ball game.
Yeah,
like there was a funny one that happened in all of that where I was talking with like the venue kind of guy, And he's like, so we need barricade. And I'm like, yeah, cool, barricade. Yeah, right on. And it was always kind of like, just went like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's like, well, where's the barricade? And I'm like, what? I was supposed to get it? I thought barricade was something that was just like around the corner or something in a fucking storage space.
Yeah.
No. Somebody has to get that. And I'm like, fuck. So that was happening. Like, I think we had to hold, well, we didn't have to hold doors, but I think it delayed the show a little bit.
Oh,
because it was like hot shot, all this barricade from the casino. And like, it's all this, they're huge and heavy. And like the most awkward thing in the world is barricade. It's diamond plate steel, like 4x4 that's reinforced with box aluminum around it, and it's just the most. So that was one thing. Like, you had to have barricade. You don't have to have barricade at Dickens, right?
Yeah.
Or a smaller Verns or something. But there's, I mean, that place is, it's just bigger, right? So there's just more going on in general. It was also like, you know, way more expensive.
Oh, I can imagine.
Like, insane, which is, you know, good. I agreed to it. I'm not bitching about the price. Mm-hmm. It's just when you move up like that, you move up with everything. And I don't know. I kind of put my eggs in one basket a little too much, maybe, in thinking, like, I thought that lineup I had would really. There's another one where it's like, you think this is going to happen, doesn't work out that way. Like, to me, and to me, I'm obviously wrong, but that was like as close as you could get to the big four of Canadian metal thrash. Mm-hmm. Like, to me, that was it. I mean, now I might have switched out a band there since then, but I assumed that, you know, maybe the CBC would have noticed this, or that, you know, local, like, people would have caught on, and it would have been like, check this out, this is never, and, you know, there were, like, Danko Jones tweeted about it, which was cool.
That is fucking cool.
And yeah, Danko, come on my show.
Yeah.
You're awesome. But it didn't get the, like, fuck. If I would have just had a little bit of that, life would be totally different today. Well, and again, my fault. Like, I didn't have a proper marketing plan set out correctly. I had what I thought was right, but turns out it wasn't.
Well, yeah. So also, just for people who don't know, who you had was it Executioner headline?
Annihilator, Exciter, Sacrifice, and
Razor. So random. Like, my cousin who's younger than me, that was the last show he went to. Like, he doesn't really check out any metal shows. He went to that metal show, and I just found that, like, just so crazy. I was like, wow, like, this is bringing even you in. Like, you don't even fucking care about any of that shit, right? Like, it's.
I was betting on that.
Yeah.
Like I was hoping, because that's what would happen with Noctis, is she would book such once in a lifetime bands that people were traveling en masse from Vancouver, from Regina, from Winnipeg, you know, flying in from fucking Portland and shit. So anyways, I thought that would just magically happen with me too. How cocky of me.
It's always, even for like bigger bands at the Palace or something, it's always like, for example, a year and a half ago I went and seen Luna Coil and All That Remains there. Oh, yeah, Luna Coil was the co-headliner.
Isn't it Lacuna Coil?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Sorry. Anyways, they had a fucking sold out place there for them, right? They had literally, I want to say, like, I don't know, 300, 400 people there. I don't know what the max capacity is. They obviously didn't have the upstairs going, right? But they were co-headliner. All That Remains come on, and I'm not even shitting you. They had 75 people there.
Yeah.
Like, it's so, and even just seeing it from obviously just the business side on Loud as Hell and everything, right? For something to relate there, Protest the Hero. Obviously, when we signed them, we're just like, this is it. We're fucking whacking after this, right?
Yeah.
And then obviously it was not there, right?
Yeah. Well, and this is not to talk shit about Annihilator, but I stupidly thought that because they hadn't been here since the 90s, that would be like a fucking huge deal.
Yeah.
Where, you know, maybe if it was 10 years before that, it would have been. But by the time, like, So anyways, it made it, I put too many eggs in that basket. Like I probably would have been better off, honestly, just booking Voivod and having a great time. Mm-hmm. That's what if I had to redo it now, that's what I'd do. Sorry, Jeff.
It's so funny because on that protest bill, it was either protest or Voivod. It was one of the two.
Dude, Voivod is... And I think I had been talking... I remember I was like talking to them and they were on a different... They were like in Europe at that time. There was some reason that they couldn't... I remember that. But again, that was 8 fucking years ago. Or, well, that was 4, but still.
Yeah. Well, it's also so cool because you've been in just especially in the Calgary music scene for so long. You've seen like the evolution of so many bands. Because I watched the one late night show you did, and you had, was it Big James?
Yeah.
You had him on, right? And it's so crazy to see where Stab Twist Pull is now, just because I remember seeing them obviously Loud as Hell many years ago, then obviously just having them the last 2 years, right? You know, what's some of your personal favorite evolutions of watching bands grow? I'm assuming you've probably seen WMD at their earliest stages.
Yeah, they were called something else.
Yeah, I remember.
Started with an A, I think.
Yeah, I remember that.
Azenol or something. Or getting them confused with somebody else. Fuck, it's not that. Well, Big James, it's funny you bring him up because he used to be in a band called Endost.
Yes. And
he's originally from Montreal, and they were one of those bands that I was talking about that were like working their ass off. So they did 2 full loops of North America. Like Eastern Seaboard, all across the South, all up the West, all the way across back to Montreal. Like... That's big nuts, man. And and they were like, Big James is just, you know, the raddest dude ever. So it was really easy to become friends with him. And it was just kind of funny how life works out, because I'd always be like, yo, bro, you know, you gotta move out to Alberta, man. And I would always harass him like that. You're like, yeah, whatever. And then one day he met a girl out here and the band had broken up, and fucking, he's like, I'm moving out to Alberta. And I was like, oh, wow, cool. And they ended up joining Stab Twist Pull. Oh, yeah. So I was like, holy fuck, you know, like pretty wacky the way stuff flips around sometimes. But yeah, I've seen WMD is a good example of that. Like, yeah, they were like 17 and probably had fake IDs. And they were in the bar and stuff. And they'd only play at Lord Nelson's because they wouldn't check their IDs or some shit, right? Yeah, no, there's like I've seen, lots of bands, you know, obviously come, and lots of bands go, and oddly enough, lots of bands stick around more than I kind of thought they would, you know, because doing the band thing is really fucking hard, and it's a young man's game, and as soon as you start having kids and all that stuff, your priorities change. So it's cool to see who has stuck around, who has gone away, and it's interesting.
So, if I'm not mistaken, also, so just Big James there, was the single called X's for Eyes, or is that the band name?
Yeah, he has another band called X's for Eyes. So,
if I'm not mistaken, they actually got quite a bit of publicity the one year because they did that whole "we're selling our album for $1" thing.
Yeah,
right. That's so fucking cool in a way.
Yeah, right? And they sold a whack,
like 16,000 or something like that.
That's crazy, man. Yeah. That's a lot in Canada.
Yeah, seriously.
Like, holy shit.
Especially in a streaming service nowadays, right?
Yeah, those guys are really inventive in general. Like, their drummer is like, you know, he like plays traditional, and he's like a teacher and a studio guy, and Graham too, their bass player, he's like studio guy and just like really sick. And then Dave, the kind of, it's like he's like the engineer and guitar player, and he has a studio. Yeah. And then so James can just record it in his room, you know.
Yeah,
and fire it off. And so like they've always been really cool like that. They've always been trying to, you know, ride the next breaking wave, you know, like trying to see the waves breaking. So yeah, that was awesome to see that. I was like, yay, I know that guy. I always love it to see people innovate.
Yeah. For maybe selfish, like I'm not saying like, you know, maybe knowing the story on maybe why a band broke up or something, for maybe just selfish reasons. Like for me, you know, I always wish exit strategy would be a thing, right? You know, with Casey and all of them, right? So it's like for yourself, like, you know, maybe what's band that you've seen just on the upcoming. They're just for selfish reasons, right? I'm not even just like exclude all the whole band internal conflict or whatever, right? Just be like, man, I would have loved to fucking hear a couple albums or still see them live, right? You know.
Well, that would again be Endost.
Yeah.
And actually, I was able to have them on the show, and they did just get back together.
Oh.
But they had taken like, I don't know, 5 years off. That bothered me. like again, you know, I was even saying to James, like, it fucking pisses me off your band isn't together. What the fuck, man? Fuck. You know, I know, man, but whatever. Can't do anything about it, you know. And then I heard that they got back, and I'm like the number one fan, right? So
yeah,
that's cool. I hope the world opens up again so that we can all fucking see shit like that happen. Because they did a video where they were all at their houses.
Oh, okay.
So it's like the bass player has got his bass out on the farm, out in the field with the wind blowing, he's hair whipping. And then James is out by fucking like some lake out in the mountains fucking doing his shit. And everybody's like, but it was like the best quarantine video I'd kind of seen. But they had put this new single together and put that out. So it'll be cool to see when everybody can fucking flex their goddamn travel muscles again. And, you know, go out and tour and people can get together and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, go out and tour and people can get together and stuff.
So what about getting hard in Nate's backyard? Which I need to figure out where the fuck that line came from, because there's got to be a story behind that, right?
Yeah, I see. Again, it's like house party. I have no idea. Like it came up drunkenly one night, and I guess it's stuck. I don't know. Naming things is hard. That's like it was always the band names like Kiliakai, Kaioctus. Like we would always pick this shit because it wasn't taken. So to try to find something that's not taken is hard. But sorry, what were we just talking about?
So like the podcast. How long?
Oh,
did
the
you go
podcast,
for?
right?
Yeah.
So the podcast is interesting. I'll just kind of explain some backstory about it. I always wanted to, and when I used to work at the slaughterhouse, I was like, we should put an antenna on this roof of this place and have a fucking radio station here. Like, and that's what everybody does at Slaughterhouse, because you walk in there and you're like, holy fuck, 14-foot ceilings. And everybody sees the potential in the place, right? Even though it's like awesome already. So once I, you know, was on my own, so to speak, and all this stuff, I decided I bought a minibus off my friend from an old death metal band, Ostestima. I wish they would come back, actually. They were ripping. And their singer would hold the mic out here and yell. Holy. And it was still really loud. Like, he was so loud. Anyway, those guys were a good time. But yeah, the podcast, I bought their old touring minibus. Short. And it didn't have a door on the side. It was a big door out the back. And so I turned this into like my studio, like my mixing suite. And then, so I'm all set up to do this stuff and mix. And so it's not hard to like plug a cable in and start doing this, right? So that's what it was. I did, I think it was 69 or 79 episodes.
Holy.
In that bus. We did a couple in my garage, but then, yeah, so Getting Late with Nate kind of was an extension of that, where I wanted to upgrade it from podcast to late night show. That was the whole idea there. But I just enjoyed I've always just enjoyed the art of interviewing people, and that's why I was asking you too. I was like, how are you so good at, like, how do you do this? And you're like, oh, college, man. And I'm like, yeah, fair enough. I never had that. But yeah, I've always enjoyed and it's always been with my friends, right? So it's like sitting down and having a conversation, like long form, you know? It's funny with that podcast, because I threw away 13 of them because I was inspired by Rogan, I guess. And I was trying to do these 3-hour long things, but if you're having some wobblies and trying to do 3 hours, now it's like, well, that story was really interesting, but we got to edit it. And now if I'm sitting around editing a 3-hour podcast, even just audio, it was taking me like 20 hours. And I'm like, what is going on here? So I was like, no, just make it an hour, just try to stick to no dinner table talk. A friend said, just cut the dinner table talk and just tell stories about like you between you two, or you distinct stories about that only you would know, So that was the podcast. That was the idea behind that. I was just trying to crank out content, Just that's where it started with that, is just trying to put out content consistently.
Well, it's awesome with Getting Late with Nate, because especially if we're going, let's say way back, just to compare, talk shows back then to today, right? I see a lot of similarities between like Norm Macdonald with you.
What?
I do.
Wow,
I
thank
do.
you.
I
Holy
do.
shit.
Yeah.
He's one of the funniest guys walking.
He is. He's fucking amazing.
Yeah.
And like, when I check out some of his stuff and I go to like, talk shows today, I'm like, where the fuck did we go wrong? To be honest, right?
He is too. He says the same thing.
Yeah. He's so, I love his one class. Like, so where do you get your ideas from? Like, just so fucking dumb. So for you, just, obviously with Norm Macdonald and stuff, like, where do you get a little bit of your inspirations for that?
Definitely, I would have to admit, like Conan.
Yeah.
Like, he's like tall and lanky and like weird, like goofy, but he's always been really funny. And the comedy thing of the show is really hard for me, but just the way, like in old Letterman, like that fucking big ass ham and all that shit from the 90s he was doing, it was fucking crazy. Like, he's going out with like crazy cameras next door to the guy's convenience store and putting a camera in his face and going, tell me, and shit like that's hilarious. I mean, I would also have to say, like, fucking, because when did Tom Green come out? Like, that
the Tom
was
Green show.
93 or 4.
All from his house too.
Yeah, well, he was. I've been creeping out on Tom Green for a little while.
I see that. Every time I tune in, you're calling him. It's so fucking funny, man.
Because he put his phone number out on his podcast. Like, it's weird. Right as soon as I started Getting Late with Nate, he started Tom Green Webavision, which is basically the same thing, but him sitting in his mansion.
Yeah.
I have a green screen. He's in his fucking mansion with $8,000 cameras. But he would put his phone number out, like, call this number, and the phone would be, that was the gag, was the phone was sitting there ringing throughout the whole podcast. And everybody in the comments is like, turn that fucking phone off. It's like this 70s ring, ring, ring. Yeah, Tom Green would, like, I mean, come on. How funny is it when he airbrushed lesbians on his dad's Firebird? Like, holy shit. But then, I mean, it's kind of, I'm a product, I'd like to think kind of like everybody else. There was like Jackass. Like, I remember watching Good Morning America when Jackass first came out, and they're like, people are doing this now. Look at this video of this kid, and he's trying to jump over a car, and smoke and smashes his head. Man, you guys stop doing this. And it was like a big deal, So, and then, I've always been a massive stand-up comedy fan. Like, all of them. All the good ones. Like, Eddie Murphy.
Oh, Eddie Murphy Raw back in the day?
I mean, holy shit, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is fucking crazy. And Richard Pryor. Like, holy shit. He came back from lighting himself on fire smoking crack. That's pretty impressive. And, like, all of them. Dangerfield, and, like, those guys are too fucking funny. So, and I remember, actually, when I was in the 3rd grade, I would make odd statements like this to people. I walked right up to my teacher and I was like, I'm going to be a comedian one day. And she was like, oh, that's very nice, Nathan. I'll come see your jokes. And I was like, thanks. Hey Siri, fuck off. God, why did that? Yeah, I know you won't respond to that. Face down. Fuck. Sorry, we were interrupted by AI.
So yeah, we were talking about Tom Green there and just more like inspirations. Also, like, it's cool to talk about that stuff because obviously on the time when Tom Green's doing all that stuff, I'm like 10 years old, 12 years old when that stuff is
How old are you?
Right? 25.
25, okay.
Yeah, 25. So, I just got introduced to some of his classic videos a couple years ago. You know, the whole when there's free vegetables on the sub there, and he just keeps fucking putting more on. Like, I watched that for the first time like 4 years ago and wondered where the fuck that's been all my life at this point.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, I was lucky too. Like, there was a weird, like, whatever they call it, second or third wave, like golden age of Saturday Night Live when I was growing up. So we had all the like Adam Sandler and Farley. Farley, there you go. There's my inspiration.
Yeah.
But I don't do physical comedy. But Chris Farley to me is the funniest fucking dude that has ever walked the earth.
Agree.
At least that's gotten filmed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like,
agree.
I used to have Tommy Boy memorized. No shit.
Yeah.
And no, for sure, Farley. You think about all those crazy movies that came out at that time, like Billy Madison and Tommy Boy and fucking
Black
Dirty
Sheep.
Work,
Yeah.
Black Sheep. Fuck, you know how fast you're going?
Yeah.
4 miles an hour. He's like parked in the middle of the road. I mean, that shit was so funny. It's weird how Saturday Night Live does this. That would be a big inspiration for my show too. Like the late night show, Getting Late with Nate, is that whole like aspect of mixing musical guests and interviews. And I'm trying to get, comedy is hard for me personally. I'm trying to get a writer's room going like on Zoom so I can do like the monologue. I tried doing the monologue, but fuck, man, that is, writing comedy is the hardest fucking thing ever. And it was so funny. I was talking to my brother because my brother is super smart and super hilarious. Like, he has a master's in English and all this shit. And he's super hilarious. And I'm like, hey, man, like, this is real easy. Just, like, help me write my show. Like, be a writer on my show. And I explained the whole thing to him. And he's like, do you realize that, like, Letterman had, like, 30 writers? And you probably know most of them now? Like, like Sarah Silverman and fucking Louis C.K. and, all these people, have gone on to have massive careers. So it's not like, hey, you're smart and funny, you just write me a joke. He told me, he's like, I'm gonna go on a big bike ride and think about it, and that's when I think best, and I'll get back to you. And then he never got back to me because it's like, he's just not that kind of writer. And you can't just make people, you can't just think that because they're one way they're gonna be, that this is gonna happen. So
well, it's like, because you are right. Like, Anthony Jeselnik, one of my favorite actually probably my favorite. Like,
he's fucking hilarious.
He is amazing, to be honest. He was a writer for Jimmy Fallon there.
Really?
Yeah. So he's saying this on a podcast. He's like, oh yeah, Jimmy never used any of my fucking jokes. Like,
no shit.
No shit. And he said, and he'd always like be like, man, Jimmy is weird. He would take us all out like after the show, like take us to like weird dive bars and get us all hammered and stuff. Like,
you didn't take him to the nice place, right? Yeah. Like, not like you couldn't afford to.
So I guess like I have to ask, like, maybe, to put it even so bluntly, maybe what went wrong in tonight's shows. Because don't get me wrong, I watch the Fallons and I watch the Kimmels, right? But for me, I always find it like 50-50. 50% of the time I do find it fucking funny. 50% I just find it absolutely dumb.
Yeah, no, I feel ya. Fuck.
Yeah.
Listen, these fucking shows are dictated by advertisers. And it's always been that way. They used to put it right in the show. Oh, well, here I have a lucky strike. So at the end of the day, like, it was funny. I was watching, I think it was Rogan. He just had Colin Quinn on. And they were saying, like, he's like, it's like worst case scenario to get a show now. Like, before, back in the day, you were like, everybody's vying for these development deals and stuff. But now everybody wants to be Rogan. Where they don't have a fucking boss and they can say whatever they want. Like But I mean, my short answer is that these fucking assholes are making tons of fucking money and are just like, yeah, give me the script that's provided to them. I mean, they're invited to the writers' room meetings, but they don't have to be there. And, there's really no incentive for them to be dangerous. There's actually a disincentive to be dangerous. So, you can't even say shit, really. Well, now it seems like that's okay now, but that took 20 years. But you would never have for example, who was the guy that used to yell all the time? What was his fucking name, that comedian? You would never have any of these crazy madmen comics like he used to have. I remember even there was this guy, Amazing Jonathan, and he was like a half magic act from the late 80s. But he'd come out and you could tell he was just like coked up and sweating. He had this bandana on. And then he'd shove a pencil up his nose and all this stuff. Like, you could never have that guy host a late night show. Even though I would love to see that. I would love nothing more than Tonight with Amazing Jonathan. That to me would be the best show ever. But if the corporate sponsors are like, no, you can't be doing that. You can't be saying that. It's against our interests. I mean, that's what dictates the rules, really. Because they can pull funding. Like, they can pull funding just like, the government here could pull funding from CBC. I mean, if they wanted.
No, you are correct, because even, let's say they don't even have corporate, there's a thing that's going on with shadow bans, like you said, with Facebook, right? For example, no joke, I just found out about Norm Macdonald a month ago, and it's crazy, because literally just for YouTube and everything, they just shadow ban the living fuck out of him. They don't want anyone seeing that shit, right?
And he apologized.
Yeah,
he even fucking apologized.
Yeah,
which he shouldn't have done, in my opinion.
No, I love I did a big rabbit hole when OJ Simpson, some of his stuff about OJ Simpson was some of the funniest fucking shit I've ever seen.
Yeah, I know they have the ones. I think the YouTube channel's called I'm Not Norm. Yeah, and they'll cut them all together. I was watching some of those with my buddy the other night, and he's like, really? He was writing. OJ Simpson. There's a few of them. Yeah. He oddly talks about suicide, I think. Yeah. Some weird.
Yeah, some
and him being too. Gay. We can't figure out if he's gay or. Anyways, that's funny.
His guests are like, "Why is your hand getting close to my thighs and stuff?" It's like, what the fuck?
He's always just screwing with people, man. I love it. Yeah, he is truly one of the fucking geniuses right now, man. I mean, it sucks that he's shadow banned. That's why he's a genius, is because he's shadow banned. There's a guy I didn't bring up, of course, the great Bill Hicks, right? He was, there you go. There's a great example. Bill Hicks, he could be all wacky and wild to get a joke across, but he could also be very serious and well thought out, and he was very. And have you checked out Bill Hicks?
No. Actually,
oh my God, buddy, your life is gonna change tonight.
Yeah.
His fucking specials, the way he's talking back in late '80s, early '90s, applies 100% to today.
Wow.
And that's why that he's a fucking genius. But it's also the same fucking bullshit, just different pile, right? But yeah, he was really smart, thought out, intellectual kind of comedy. And I would pay money to see him host a late night show. But I think even if he didn't die from pancreatic cancer, that they would not let that go on. Because he was just fucking turning too many front door lights on. He was just, he would sit there and be like, yeah, just sit in your house watching American fucking Gladiators while they fire a pizza in your fucking mail slot. He was calling this shit 30 fucking years ago. So
I think it's funny, and I hate to even just bring up some of these mainstream fucking idiots, but you never hear any of those stories that are circulating today, because there's that big story about Ellen right now where she's like, hey, if you're one of her people in the back, you weren't even allowed to look at her or something, right?
There's lots of people like that,
but you never hear it much with the people that are getting shadow banned or any of that, right?
Of course not.
Right? It's crazy to think, you know, the more mainstream and more, I don't know, nice you seem on TV as a personality, actually more of a cunt you are.
I'll just say that I think that stuff leans politically, and it's pretty much bullshit.
Yeah.
And it just pisses me off. This stuff should not be political.
Mm-hmm.
You shouldn't be able to politicize somebody's fucking career. You shouldn't be able to shadow ban somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is that? That's one side knows about the banning, and the other side that is being banned doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is what we do now? Okay. and, you know, there's a narrative, and it's political, and there's some things being pushed, you know? Like, again, this all comes back to the sponsors of the show, and, you know, you have to pay the piper, and you have to toe the line, or you're canceled fast. Look at fucking Pee Wee Herman, man. That guy was a hero. Oh, there you go. There's a comedic hero of mine. Pee Wee fucking Herman. Mm-hmm. My daughter's 7 years old. She watches this shit. She fucking loves it. But guess how he ended up? They caught him jerking off in a sex theater, like in a porn theater. They caught him beating off, allegedly. And just fucking. I mean, I haven't seen the video, so I don't know. and they wrecked his fucking career. Like, dude, he was on Murphy Brown. Fuck. That was huge for that time. Murphy Brown. Too funny.
Well, that's one thing I kind of wanted to touch on, actually, because obviously just following you on social media and everything, and obviously now that I've had you in person, I'm starting to connect a lot more of the dots. I notice you have a little bit of, maybe not strong, but you're very open about your political opinions just when it comes to the States. And the only reason I'm bringing that up is just because I was just going to ask, like, why the States? But now it makes sense, obviously, just being born in Oregon and everything. Right?
Well, I was technically born in BC for the free healthcare. But when I was 6 months old, they smuggled me into America. And we basically lived there until they figured out that happened, and they kicked my family out. So, but yeah, I mean, yes, I am open about it, and I feel like I can speak about it because I do carry an American passport. Mm-hmm. And that's not to dissuade anybody from, like, I will never talk anybody down. Like, everybody can have their opinion.
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't mean it matters. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it's just funny. Like, it's not like just because I'm an American, nobody else can talk.
No, yeah.
Like, I'm always open to talking. But, yeah, I mean, it's fucked. So what do? Like, everything's being pissed down the fucking drain right now. So, I mean, the world as we know it is being fucking transformed by the minute. So, I don't know. I have a little daughter and stuff. So, and I kind of, like, all I have is my reputation. And that's all I've ever had. Like, I don't come from money. You know, it's not like I can just not worry about money and just, like, my reputation is the only reason I get hired to do anything. So I don't know. I just state my opinion like everybody else. And, but I mean, before I put it on social media, I think about it a bunch. That's not to say that I haven't been wrong. I have been wrong. And, I have retracted statements. And also, like, you know, Taylor has come up a couple times, and we were able to go out to the, I wouldn't even call it a fucking protest. It was more like a get-together out in Drumheller.
Oh, yeah,
about the Black Lives Matter.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And to hear those speakers was great. You know, it changed my mind about a lot of shit. Like, I mean, it made me think differently about a lot of things. So, and that's important. That's what everybody needs to do right now. Everybody needs to listen to motherfuckers. Everybody needs to stop being so goddamn strapped to their own opinion because they came up with it. Like, I'll admit it. At first, there was some QAnon things where I was like, oh, you know, way back.
Yeah.
Way back. And then it was like, I got more information, and it was like, well, these motherfuckers were taking over like 3 weeks in. So if you believe this now, you're just fucked. So anyways, it's, I don't know. I have family down there. I don't want to see it go shitty, like America is fucking awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Like, go to Vegas and tell me it doesn't rule.
Mm-hmm.
Go to fucking, I mean, like right now you could, like I would still go to Hollywood right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, maybe not, like, because everything's shut down. Like,
Yeah.
if you could go to the places that are in Hollywood, it's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
You know? And so, yeah, it's just, I will call people out certain times, though, when I see, like, it's fine to have your opinion. It's fine to even have a narrative that you want to push. But if that means that you're totally not taking in the other side, like, that's bad on both sides.
100%.
Both sides need to come together because we agree actually on like 90% of life.
Mm-hmm.
Both sides. All right. And the media telling us we don't, I think is a big fucking problem.
Mm-hmm.
Because with 90% of life, everybody just wants to be left the fuck alone. I don't want to pay a lot of taxes.
Mm-hmm.
I think the government's useless and wastes our money.
Mm-hmm.
So anytime I can not pay taxes, I'm happy about that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and but everybody just wants to, you know, live their life and do whatever they want, and I think they should all be allowed to do that. And yeah, that's as far as it goes for me with the political stuff. Like, so I do get riled up when it's like all of a sudden, like, we shut everything down, and that's fine. But I don't want government help.
Mm-hmm.
I've had to take every CERB payment. I'm signed up for the new CRB, and it fucking pisses me off. I hate it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to do that. Like, I'm taking it and I'm spending it because, God damn it, I got to fucking eat and pay my rent.
No shit.
I'm not allowed to go to work.
Yeah.
So, but I would much rather it's the other way, where it was just, you know, make what you can make and go for it, you know, which I'm still doing. It's the uncertainty. Like, I don't trust the government, so when they're the only ones paying me, really, it puts a little uncertainty in my mind that I'm not. Like, it does make me go, well, fuck, I'd rather just go back to the U.S. where I can have a business,
Yeah.
and do a full business, like, even if it's within these parameters. I hope that made sense.
No, yeah. Well, like, the one nice thing is I feel like maybe some certain figures are trying to make it more interesting for maybe youth. Like, he's Canadian. I think he's YouTube Crawford, I think.
CJ Crawford?
No, but he does the Crawford live show. He's Canadian. He's huge.
Oh, Crowder?
Crowder. Crowder. Yeah, I was getting mixed up to them. So, like, for example, what do you think of, like, do you even pay attention at all to those guys? Or
I watched Crowder rant a couple times. I mean, when you're so far on, like, I consider myself this far right of center.
yeah.
But when you're over here, man, it's
true.
like, come on. Like, again, now everybody's just spouting their beliefs and pushing their beliefs on somebody, even to the point where they might not even believe in them anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But that's how they sell their fucking sheets and dick pills.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, like, that's the other kind of funny part of it is it's like Crowder's out there, rah, 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 rah. Or Ben Shapiro. He's like, hey, buy these sheets, blah, blah, blah. You're like, oh, whoa, what's going on? And, like, lots of these guys like this, it's like, yeah, Blue Chew, you know, and dick pills. And we get a doctor on the internet and give you a prescription for dick pills. And you're like, wow, okay. I mean, that kind of dilutes your previous point there. But if you just become a parody of yourself, like, and guaranteed these guys have to be, anytime you get into any kind of like serious fucking money like that, they're being paid again by the advertisers for putting out this certain, they've only been able to cut that deal because they're this way. And I mean, Rogan's done a pretty good job at steering up the middle there with all that, where he retains a lot of the, you know, he's not working for some podcast network and he's like,
he is now.
Well, yeah, I guess.
What
is that Spotify deal? Like, don't they just put out his shit on Spotify? Like, I don't get how they gave him $100 million for that.
No, so at the end of the year, it's exclusively on Spotify. You won't be able to watch it on YouTube anymore. exclusively.
Even video?
Even yeah, but the video will be on Spotify and everything. But yeah, there's like your JRE, like not the clips, just JRE will never post another podcast ever again.
On YouTube?
Never.
Even after the fact?
Never.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was like 2 months ago or a month ago, they finally put all his previous episodes on Spotify because that was part of the deal. And obviously they left out like a dozen. They didn't put any of the Alex Jones on there or none of that, right? I know.
What do we call that? Rewriting history.
Even though that the last Alex Jones one is one of my favorite fucking podcasts.
Why does everybody hate
there.
Alex Jones
Dude,
so much?
He's so fucking. I follow
You
his
have
shits.
to fucking listen to these people, okay?
Yeah.
You have to go, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Bye.
Exactly.
You know, like to remove them, I don't think helps anybody.
No.
You're just going to make more guys like that.
Yeah.
Because they're going to listen to him on his fucking, because that's all that ends up happening is it goes behind their paywall.
Yeah, they just have their own URL, right?
And then he's able to go, well, see, you can only get it here first, folks.
Yeah.
Like, I agree. He's ridiculous as fuck and crazy. And he's sensationalist. That's my problem is like everything is sensationalist now. Like nothing can be like you used to have the Walter Cronkite, like, and that's the news, and I'm sticking to it. Like it was just the news, ma'am, just the facts, ma'am.
Yeah.
Like that's what they did after World War II. Was like it's this way, and there's no glitz, there's no glamour, we're not twisting anything here. Here's what happened today, and the news was only at dinner. That was the only. There was no 11 o'clock news. There was no fucking noon news. There was no morning news.
Yeah.
It was just Walter Cronkite at 6 o'clock. But ever since the invention of 24-hour news cycle, I mean, I was thinking about it the other day. Like Jessica down the well, that was like one of the first CNN things, and they were like 24 hours a day. She's down there.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like this. And then all the weird, like, I remember being a kid and it's like the Anita Hill hearings or Clarence Thomas hearings when they were putting him in the Supreme Court and he was being accused of sexual harassment. And then it was OJ and he's on fucking trial. And then, you know, 24 hours a day, like fuck. I remember being 12, we were in Hawaii and fucking OJ was on like constantly. It was like all day, every day.
Jesus.
So fucking weird, man.
That is
like,
so weird.
It is. That is a change of, in one generation. Like, to me, the media, as much as they sit around and go, the media is an important part of the democracy, a healthy democracy. Well, they need to fucking live up to that.
No shit.
Like, you've got to tell both sides. Can't just be Fox News is this far over here and CNN is fucking this far over here. There's nothing in the middle. That's doing a disservice to humanity.
And that's where I would agree on, just like with the Joe Rogan. There is he brought the what's it called, the people who run Twitter, like the main people.
Yeah,
Twitter.
Jack. What's his name?
Yeah, and then he had that journalist on who was like total anti against him and everything.
Oh, the skeptic.
Yeah,
Michael Shermer.
Yeah.
Well, he had Michael Shermer on with Graham Hancock too.
Okay.
Graham Hancock is like, what does he call himself? He's an like alternate archaeologist. Like he knows all about the pyramids and he's written a bunch of books about this stuff, but he's written off as a pseudoscientist. So he was, I remember that Michael Shermer, the one with Rogan there, the first one, I think it was just them. And Rogan was getting mad. I thought he was going to fucking go over the table at him. That would have been awesome if he did. Apparently Michael Shermer though, really recently apologized to Graham Hancock.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because he was just on, Hancock was on Rogan's podcast again, and he was saying that just recently.
Oh, okay.
That Michael Shermer reviewed some of the stuff and apologized to him and said, no, it is possible this could happen. But yeah, that Michael Shermer guy was funny. He was like accusing him of trying to sell supplements and all this stuff. I was like, dude, what are you talking about? But you'll always get a Michael Shermer. Like, that's what I mean. Like, he's like, I don't believe in anything. Like, he's like nihilism. No, there's no way. Okay. Like, if you're just going to sit around, like, yeah. Nihilism, I get it. I love it. but you can't. It's not a religion, right?
Yeah.
You know, and just like anything, I think as soon as it becomes a religion and you're just like stuck in that and that's what you believe, that's a real problem.
Well, just to because it was nice you brought that up, just like you said with the scientists and everything, which obviously got to remind when I watched your late night show. Oh, what was it, a month ago, where you had that one scientist on talking about the skulls and everything, right?
Brian Forrester.
How the fuck did you get him on?
Fuck, that was hilarious, man. Like, I've been emailing Tom Green for fucking 5 months, okay? He doesn't respond. I called the number on the show. He doesn't respond. I'm like, fuck, Brian Forrester, man. Yeah, that'd be cool. And sent him an email. In 5 minutes, he responded. Like 20 minutes later, I was like, holy shit.
Oh, wow.
And then just started talking right away and set it up right away. And I couldn't fucking believe, because this is a rad thing about guys like that, is they are running their own shit. It's not going through some agent or some manager that's, useless kinks in the fucking chain. That happened a lot with all the festival bullshit, by the way, is all these the music business people, you know. The word business is bigger than the word music,
Yeah.
you know, for a reason. Because, anyways, no slight on anybody that's a booker or something like that, but it just seems sometimes like, I guess that's their job, is to get in the way.
For that Brian one, what time did you do that at? Because I know there's a pretty big time zone difference.
He's in Peru.
Okay.
Which I don't think is that bad. Like, they would be, I'd have to look it up, but I'm pretty sure that's West Coast time. So that's only an hour back.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty
that's
sure
not too bad then, actually.
Yeah. We did it at, or no, he told me he was Central time. So that's an hour ahead. That's like Saskatchewan time or whatever.
That one was super, like I said, like that was just such a new experience for me, just listening to that shit, right? You know?
Yeah, like, can you believe those skulls and shit?
Seriously,
like,
it was...
And the one that was a big mind blower for me, because, you know, the internet came out in my life in the 8th grade, so I would have been like, whatever that is, 12 or 13. And like, I remember the first thing I remember hearing about exclusively was that Princess Diana had died in the car wreck. But it's interesting. You can do all this research and stuff. And like, so that was like, the internet's new to me. And then I'm like, looking up Atlantis. And I remember that was the first time, where was I? I was going to school in Quebec. And I went on the Merriam-Webster, like the dictionary CDs, the encyclopedias on CDs. And I remember I looked up, what's the trippy cactus? Peyote.
Oh, yeah.
I looked up peyote, and it showed like the Southwest desert around the Mexican border in the U.S., and then this little dot in a town I'd never heard of called Drumheller. And that was the first time I'd ever heard the word Drumheller, was looking up peyote. So anyways, wanted to share that. But it's just weird how the internet like wasn't a thing when I was a kid. Then got into high school, it was a thing. And now it's like everything. It's really, never would have thought back then that it would be, I mean, I don't know why I wouldn't either, but of course, there's an easier way. Like, talk over the air, right? But
Atlantis, wasn't that the city that was the spaceship that flew away?
Well, there's that. Like, it was supposed to be. Plato said that it was an island that lost its power source and fell into the ocean. The lost city of Atlantis. That was my point. Thanks for bringing that up. I was looking up stuff like that. So I thought that I am like, and reading those books back then, because that's when they started coming out too, like Mystery of the Sphinx was a book that was all about the erosion marks on the side of the Sphinx that date it to like 10,500 BC. And that was a Graham Hancock book and Robert Schoch, I believe. And there was these like alternate Egyptologists that were getting kicked out of there for coming up with this shit, coming up with these new theories. So it was really interesting to me when I was doing that Brian Forster interview, where he's like, yeah, he's the 8-sided pyramid. Like, I didn't know that. If you look at it on summer solstice, straight up, you can see that it's like bowed in. I'd never known that, and I've been researching this shit since Princess Diana. So that was mind blowing for me in that interview for sure.
Did that interview like just inspire just maybe a collection for future guests or anything? Just like, also not even just for just like around that subject, just for maybe reaching out. For example, like you said, when you said, hey, when I reached out, it was like 5 minutes. You're like, holy fuck, he's emailing me right now, right?
Yeah.
Like, what's that for moving forward?
It definitely, I have some, like, my buddy was in the studio the other day. He's like, fuck, you're going to call that guy? You're going to call that guy? I'm like, well, it's just ideas, right?
Yeah.
Like, Rob Flynn? I'm like, well, Rob Flynn has his own podcast. I like Machine Head.
Yeah. He does a lot of his shit himself, right? So.
Yeah, I might be able to get a hold of him.
Yeah.
Never know. But I tried to find his email. I couldn't find it. He's very elusive. And he's all connected through, like, labels and stuff. So that... He would have to be, you'd almost have to get a hold of his agent. Be like, I'll send you $50 fucking dollars. Right?
Yeah.
Can I get the fucking, just give me his fucking email.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's definitely inspired. I'm trying to go for like kind of Canadiana, like Nardwuar. Nardwuar is on the list. But see, Nardwuar freaks me out because he's like the best interviewer of all time. Like Nardwuar was brought up and I was like, fuck, that'd be so cool. But at the same time, I'm like shitting my pants because what the fuck am I going to ask Nardwuar? Like, I know there's research that I could do on him, but I just know he'd be sitting there with like 400 better questions in his mind to ask me, that it kind of freaks me out. So yeah, no, there's definitely a list. I have an ongoing list and I've been crossing them off, which is cool.
Nardwuar, he's out of Vancouver there, right?
Yeah.
Is that the one where he interviews all those people and they're like, how the fuck did you know? Like,
yeah. Oh, dude. Man, and he comes
insane.
With gifts.
Yeah.
And he's all dressed in plaid and he looks like a dork.
Yeah.
It's a character he does, I hope.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, he'll like with Snoop Dogg. He's like, and he's got like vinyl.
Yeah.
Because he used to work, I'm pretty sure from what I've seen, he's worked at CITR in Vancouver for the last 40 years, right? Like, there's pictures of him when he's like 18 at that radio station. So I think he's always been kind of intermingled. He was a radio guy and then just a huge music fan and then but yeah, everybody knows Nardwuar. Like, he uses his connections to get backstage and stuff. It's pretty rad.
How do you think he gets those questions? Like, because I've literally sat down and really think about how he does it. And I've come up with like one solution how I think he does it. But
what do you think?
So to be completely honest, the questions he asks and stuff, it's not like you can do a deep dive on Facebook or anything and find out what he does and all that, right?
Sure.
I personally think he's contacting like either family members, like mothers, or going to like the yearbook and contacting old best friends.
I can tell that some of that for sure has happened.
Yeah.
Because there's people like, what's the big famous girl that just won 10 Grammys there? Billie Eilish.
Oh yeah.
And she was like, how did you know that? For sure he's getting a hold of friends, but or family or managers or agents, and I was thinking, and this is probably totally naive, that like he had a few ghostwriters that are like researchers that are doing this as well. I'm sure he has some well planned out mechanism where there's even other people that are Nardwuar, but I'm from this place, and they're like, oh, and they tell him that. So he's been doing it forever. So there is an interview with him and Tommy Chong from like 1993 at, I'm pretty sure it's the North Country Fair, and you can hear the band in the background. And he's like, Tommy Chong's like, he just played or something back, and he's backstage, and he's asking him all these questions. And then local legend that is totally underrated. He just passed away a year or two ago. Kelly J from Crowbar, which had massive, huge hits in the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
One of the biggest Canadian bands ever. Walks into the shot, and he's like, "Hey, Tommy, how's it going? Remember me? I'm Kelly." And he's a big old dude like me with a big beard and all this shit. Mm-hmm. And he's like, "Oh, sorry, this will just take a second." And then he takes out this like wind-up Polaroid camera, does that, and fucks off out of the shot. And I was like, "Holy shit, man!" That Tommy Chong interview is so interesting because he's from Edmonton.
Mm-hmm. Tommy is? Oh wow, had no.
And he had idea. A band in Calgary with all different people of color in the 60s called the Calgary Shades.
Oh my god.
And he tells the story about how the mayor told them to fucking leave town.
Holy.
And he tells it right to Nardwuar in 1993 or whatever it is.
Jesus.
So cool.
Yeah, Nardwuar is... So it also got me thinking though, like if you're on the receiving end of that, like don't get me wrong, are you like I'm assuming if you're getting interviewed by Nardwuar, you kind of know what you're walking into, obviously. But like, at what point are you just like really thinking in your head, like, how the fuck do you know this? And like, is there a line of where you're maybe like uncomfortable at that point?
Oh, I have no idea. I'd just be thinking out loud. But I mean, he must be so persistent to get the interview.
Yeah.
Like he must be chasing after these people for years.
Yeah.
Before, like, and Snoop Dogg's like, yeah, okay, Nardwuar, and he knows what he's getting into now. And, like all these guys, but you can tell, like, can't remember where I saw it, somewhere on the internet, but they were like, oh yeah, that Nardwuar guy, like it was a celebrity. And they're like, oh yeah, that guy that does all the research, like he's known as being the like weirdo Canadian that's like hyper overachiever and like super good. I love it when he brings the gangster rappers gifts. Like the fucking first pressing of these vinyls from like 1989 and shit. It's like, where the fuck did you? He was like, weren't you on this vinyl right here? It's like, holy shit.
My favorite on those interviewers is like when he's like, do you remember Shanine? And they're like, what? And he brings up like some 8th grade fucking sweetheart of the gangster rappers. Totally. And they're just like, what the fuck?
This is where you know he's... Yeah, it's really interesting. I wonder. We might not know. Like, Nardwuar might work for CSIS. We don't know. During the day, he's got a hat on and he's really straight and he can dig up dirt on people. We have no idea.
But that's the sauce to it as well. Like, I feel like, if you did a video explaining everything, it's not there anymore at that same time, maybe.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah, that's what's cute about it, quaint about it.
So then I guess one of the last things I want to ask about, just with all those characters and everything, the reason I compared you to Norm there when it comes to late night, where he doesn't really have a character in a sense, right? He's just him, and he's not like super excited, but he's not like very monotone at the same time, if that makes sense. Like that's where I find the very similarities, right?
Interesting.
So like where do you maybe like, because obviously with everything it's a very trial and error, obviously, right?
Yeah.
So like where do you want to maybe, do you even want to have a character for when it comes to like a late night talk show, or how does that want to be?
Well, it's something I've been wrestling with. It's a very interesting, like, I've just been trying to do the shows and put out the shows and just go for it. And just because in the beginning of the late night show anyways, because there were so many technical aspects that were fucking up and burning constantly. Like we'd be like, we just lost all audio. It's like 2 minutes to air. And you're like, what? Like between that and then like, it was weird. I did this for the pandemic. So there's like, it was a new weird thing where it's like, you have all this time. So why not do it? Then it's like, okay, do it. Like, I got the paper. I'm going to write it. Write it. What? So it's, again, it sounds like it'd be easy. Like, okay, so with the character question, I just try to be neutral, and I try, maybe that comes from a leftover from getting hard in Nate's backyard. But I just try to kind of be neutral, and I find you're really good at this, where you ask great questions and then you disappear like a ninja into the background, right? Which is kind of what I'm trying to do too, where it's like I'm in the middle. I'm not like yelling at you, and but like you say, it's not monotone. But I'm just trying to do that as a baseline. But I'm sure I will be forced once the plan is to usher in the comedy, and it's working. It's hard, but I've got like 4 or 5 people now that are good friends of mine. They've never written in their life like comedy, but that I think are really funny. And we've already come up with the idea. Like I already have 6 ideas that I want to throw out in the first meeting. So yes, I'm going to have to become a character. There was even talk like, cause I put my cheesy jacket on and my glasses. I mean, the idea with that is that it's like, it's a little more that I'm trying to dress up for this occasion, you know, like, hey, come on everybody. Like you don't have to dress up, but it was also like, don't have to be a character. Like I could just sit there like this. Yeah. And I've kind of done that. Like when I've had, like with the Taylor interview, I just stripped it down to this. There's no fucking, you know, I'm not trying to be like, you look at me. It was we're talking about some heavy shit. That's just in solidarity kind of thing. I'm the type of person that is always like, I don't want to become like if I'm going to do a character for comedy, that's fine. But I don't want to become a parody of myself. Like, I don't want to just be like, hey, I'm the gag guy, you know, like, look at me, clown, put my makeup on, you know, like, so it's kind of a weird challenge and been an interesting thinking about all that is, well, why even put the jacket on, you know, but at the same time, I still agree with myself. I'm having a conversation with myself now where to gussy it up a bit. Like it's not out of me to, if I was respectful, if I went to a funeral, I'd wear a jacket. You know, if I went to a formal occasion, I would wear a jacket. It's not something that's outside of me. So, but yeah, I do want to try because it's the internet and I don't have to bend over to any advertiser. I don't have to be taking notes from directors or writers or anything. It's all me. So that's been the biggest hilarious challenge with all this is realizing like it's you. Okay, go do it. And then sometimes I'm like literally paralyzed. It's happened to me, and that's why I stopped doing the first like I don't know 4 or 5 episodes. I was trying to shit out comedy. And that's not good either. Like it's got to be funny, and it can't just be. It's got to be funny and well thought out for it to be funny. So I'm trying not to just fucking do it because I have to do it, you know, and be this guy because I have to be this guy. I'm just, you know, and I find it easier every week. Like even right now, I don't know who the actual guest is going to be, but for Friday's show, which is 2 days from now.
Yeah, this gets aired Sunday. So
cool. So
not spoiling.
But there will be a guest. I just don't know who it is yet. Yeah, and it's kind of part of that, like just letting go and just not having such high standards that it has to be perfect. That's the hardest thing. Is I'm competitive, you know. To be able to let go and just be like, no, this is the best I could do. I'm gonna do this, you know, realistically, do it sustainably, and not just go as hard as I possibly can all the time. Because that's how you lose friends. That's how your wife leaves you. That's, anyways, not to say any of that's happening or going to happen. But my wife has seen my frustration with it, and she's been one that's like, just don't worry about it. I mean, you're not building bombs here, right? It's not like if you fuck up, the whole factory dies. So I was trying to stay true to myself kind of thing.
Well, that's what I love about it, just from a viewer's aspect, is I love how when I go in, I don't know what I'm about to get, right?
Cool.
That's what I love about it, right? You know, I know I'm going to be getting some interviews, but for example, I want to say it might have been 2 Fridays ago. I work every Friday night. So for me, it's always like in and out, like when I'm watching it. And you fucking aired this Breaking Bad remix fucking video. That was actually one of the funniest shit I've ever seen.
Oh man, thanks for asking about this. Like, Placeboying is a guy on the internet that he does remixes of videos. I mean, he got really political in the last election. You could tell, like, that's why I started playing them on my show, because he was the guy that did the ginger, remember that? He's like, what? And it was like this, gingers don't suck or something, boosh, boosh, something. But it blew up, and it was one of his first videos. It's just a weird remix of an internet video that he took and edited it all stacky and smash edits and did it with the audio too. Like, you can tell this guy is like a crazy skilled DJ. Like, there's DJs, which is 98% of them. And then there's DJs that are like inventive with this shit. And now he's doing it with video too. So the whole bit is it's my art gallery. This is my show. And I like this. I contacted him. He told me I could play every single one of them and thanked me for asking.
Fuck yeah.
So I was like, I don't know if this guy knows what he got into here, but here's the first thing he ever did in 2011. And we've been going through chronologically.
Oh, fucking
So right now we're at like 2016, November 2016. So this is like 3 days after the election. And he's putting these videos out. That was last week, but I just think the guy's genius, and it's hilarious. And he's making fun of politicians. So, like, not always, but like you say, he did that Breaking Bad thing where it's just like, what is going on here?
Exactly.
But this is like his art or their art. I don't even know the sex of this person. This is their art. And I feel like, I mean, they have already gotten like millions of hits, so it doesn't really matter. And if I have the permission, and I'm not getting flagged on YouTube for copyright.
Nice.
Which I got flagged on YouTube for copyright with Woodhawk, which I recorded live at the Slaughterhouse and played on my show last week. And I got a copyright strike for it.
Holy.
Isn't that crazy? A live performance, but that's how well it was mixed. No, sounded just like the record. No, but I was pretty happy with that mix, but it didn't sound just like the record. But
don't worry.
It was a good live performance. I really want to bring that up really quick. Check out the past episodes by the time you see this, folks. Getting Late with Nate on YouTube or Twitch. I think on Twitch they're staying up for 2 weeks now too. But we've been going down the Slaughterhouse, filming bands live, so it's like a pre-tape, but it's specifically for the show. So to have a live musical guest like your Saturday Night Live or your David Letterman or whatever. And we did the first one last week with Woodhawk. This week's in Vertigo, and then next week will be probably Lunatic, rad thrash band from here in town. And then for our Halloween special, we're going to have Nikki Valentine, Nikki V. And she brought the show.
Fucking A.
It was awesome.
You already recorded it?
Yeah.
Wow.
We went down to the Slaughterhouse. We set up 10 angles of video. And then I have a huge board. Well, it's not actually that big, but 32 tracks of audio. Was able to multi-track the whole like kick in, kick out, snare top, snare, like overheads, like do as much as I would do like in the studio, but capture this live performance. And Chase Hamilton, he's the new drummer for Citizen Rage. He's the camera guy and the video editing guy, and then I'm the audio guy and the audio editing guy. And they've been turning out crazy because people are showing up. They've been huddled up, and now they get to give a live performance. But they know nobody's going to be there. They know that it's for a late night show. So it's something to get pumped about and put a performance on for. And like Woodhawk did, fucking Kevin Nelson, I can't believe he catches the sticks. He throws them up, they spin in the air, and I won't bring up almost, but he would have wrecked that tape. but he's so rad, Kevin Nelson, that he didn't do it. But to watch them catch that, so they're distinct performances for the show, and I'm really excited about it. It is the culmination of what the show is supposed to be. The idea was much like this: to have the couch and the fucking doing the interview and with the mic and everything, and but hey, pandemic happened, and I do it over Zoom, the interviews, and then we've been able to get together and socially distance to do these live performances, and it's really cool. I hope I can keep it going because it's fucking neat to have. Like, it's one thing that, like, the whole idea was like, oh, you're a music, like, you guys just put this out, let's put it on the show. You know, trying to push everybody's stuff and trying to be like cutting, like breaking music news. You know, check out this video and have interviews and stuff with the band. But now I can do that, but just we have a distinct live performance exclusive for the show, which is, and I want to thank all those bands for doing that because they're just taking the time out of their day and bringing their gear down. And fucking Woodhawk one-taked it.
Really?
2 songs, one take. Just pack this shit up and go. It was awesome. It's cool to see different bands react different ways. Like Nikki was like, now we're doing it again. And I was like, fucking hey, all right.
Yeah.
All right, we'll do it again. Chase, we got enough video? Yeah, all right. Well, fuck, why not?
Oh, fuck.
So we had a bunch of takes to choose from and stuff. So I'm excited.
That's so cool just because you got to try to picture from the band's point of view, right? I'm pretty sure none of them have ever been asked to play a show for me to record to put on a late night show. Like, seriously, like, this true, though, right?
Yeah.
Like, none of them, right?
Well, that's why I say that I'm Canada's only late night show.
Yeah.
Late night only / yeah.
Hey, that's what I was telling people. They're like, so who's your guest today? And I'm just like, Nate Reno. He's the host of the only late night talk show in Canada.
I know. It's just because nobody else has made the effort. It's funny though, really quick on that. I know there's I can't remember her name, last name's Singh, but there's a chick down in the States that has a late night show that's gotten picked up.
Really?
Yeah. It's I'll send you her last name's Singh, but yeah, it was like Late Night Tonight with Everly Singh or something. I can't remember her first name, but it was interesting to see. I was like, holy shit, this is like a new late night show. Like, wow. So yeah.
It's got to be nice just comparing Twitch to YouTube with the copyright strikes. Like, I think I have 15 or 16 copyright strikes on my channel.
For what?
Music.
Oh, for playing music?
Yeah. So,
okay.
So don't get me wrong. It does nothing to my channel
here.
Until I hit 1,000 subs, right? As soon as you hit 1,000 subs, you can
Have
monetize
you hit that
it.
Yet?
Close. We're at 500 and like 50, I think.
I'm at 120. Fucking crushing my brain to get subscribers. It's so hard.
It's dumb, man. But yeah, as soon as I hit 1,000, sorry to any of you guys, but I'm gonna play no more fucking music. Right?
Well, right, but does that? I always wonder when I see that because YouTube tells you like, well, your channel's not affected except for you just can't monetize it. Oh, yeah. Okay, like fine. That makes no sense, but doesn't matter because we're not monetized. So what about the old shit when you are monetized? You have to take it down, or how's that going to work?
No, it just
is that where they're like, oh, well, we're funneling this money because that's what they said.
Yeah,
it's like we're going to take the money from we're still going to advertise, and that money is going to go to the copyright holder, and we're not going to give you any. And it's like, oh, okay, interesting way to go about it.
But the way I see it is, by the time I get monetized, I'm probably looking at, I don't know, hopefully 5 months before I get monetized, because you also need 4,000 hours of watch time.
Yeah, 4,000 hours of watch time. It's funny, when I get my Twitch reports, though, it'll say, like, you just had 1,800 minutes of watch time. There's only like 10 people watching. Well, 20.
Which is fucking phenomenal, in my opinion, man.
I think so, seriously. It's a big number.
That's huge, man. Like, when I see that, I'm like, wow, I wish, man. Like, seriously.
Yeah, it's been an interesting part of the show is we've been restreaming. So we use this app, restream.io, and it'll go to my personal Facebook page, the YouTube, Twitch, Periscope, which is Twitter, and DLive. And in like, how, here's what I was hoping with Twitch. Like, oh, you go on Twitch, they give you bits. You get bits. I'm like, oh, they send you money? They give you currency? I just got to sign up for this thing? No.
You have to be a Twitch partner, don't you? To get all that stuff?
And that's hard, too.
Is it, Yeah.
Well, what was it? Yeah, I had to have, I know, because it's like on the road to partnership. And I was reading it the other day. It was like, you have to maintain 75 viewers at once for 5 minutes. Is one of they have all the goals, right? Everything's a fucking RPG now.
But yeah, real quick on just your monetized question there is YouTube fucking pays fuck all for ad revenue, right? So the question is, by the time you get monetized, are you expecting 20,000 more views on an old video? Probably not.
Interesting.
Right? That's the way I see it, right?
Yeah, no, fair enough.
And then if that is the case, like if that is happening, I'll just fucking cut that song out real quick.
Well, yeah, mute the song or whatever.
Yeah, but, you know.
Well, the only thing that kind of, and I haven't hit dispute. I almost hit dispute because they let you do that. And then I did hit dispute, and then it's like, these are not reasons you can dispute. And I'm like, I could almost go past that. I don't give a fuck, right?
Yeah,
I'm not going to sit here and fight with fucking YouTube.
No, yeah.
But one of them was like, just because you filmed it doesn't mean you own. And like, oh, okay. But the band gave me permission. And the band, like CD Baby, is giving me the strike. So the band made their own CD independently, had it distributed not through a label but through CD Baby, which any dick and their dog can fucking put their audio book out on.
Yep.
Right, and get a fucking IRSC code or whatever. And so that's the only thing that kind of aggravates me about it is like, I have permission for this. Like I have permission directly, but I guess I just need to figure out how to write it down and register it with YouTube.
No, I had the same problem. I had Honor Bound used their song for an intro.
Yeah.
And they got a copyright strike, and I fucking messaged Nick. And I'm like, yo, what the fuck, man? You copyright strike my shit?
Yeah, it's not them.
Yeah, he was like, what do you mean? I didn't even know I could
imagine if they could do that?
Yeah, I know. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah. He's like, yeah, our researcher caught it. She was my girlfriend.
Well, honestly, Nate, we've gone over a lot of fucking shit I wanted to talk about today. And then, so obviously in the description, we're going to link absolutely everything with Big Nate Productions, Getting Late, and everything.
Yeah.
So really right now is to give you the magic red carpet.
Okay, yeah.
That camera there, that
right
camera
on.
there.
I'm glad we're not eating fucking hot wings, man.
Yeah.
Go to bignateproductions.com. I'll record your band. I'll do your grandma's memoirs. I'm very versatile. I can do live things. I can do studio things. Hit me up there and let's make all your audio and video dreams come true. Also, go to gettinglatewithnate.com. Getting, no second G. And we got all the links up there to see the show. We stream live Friday nights, 10 p.m. Mountain Standard Time on Twitch, YouTube, DLive, Periscope, and the other one I'm forgetting. And yeah, go to Dickens too. I want to say, like, the world's kind of opening up. There's shows. I do sound at Dickens, so go down there and support them. They're one of the last bastions of live music, and we need them to survive. So if you can go down there, please do it. And thanks for your time, man.
Thank you, Nate.
From the bodies of the dead, tell me, are you tired of the rust? Can you feel your fucking soul? Carry the